Hi there, and welcome to another episode of Africana Podcast. Today I am going to be talking about overcoming fear when we are setting goals and looking to the future. And I think this is the perfect time to be talking about this as we come to an end of a very difficult year. Going into 2021, a lot of people are quite reluctant to plan ahead and to dream and to really just get into starting on a new slate. So let's talk about overcoming fear and things that we can all do to help us to overcome it. So I want to start off by talking about some reasons why people have the fear of starting something new, fear of setting goals, fear of putting their visions onto a vision board. I think the first one that comes to mind, and that certainly held me back for a long time, was the fear of failure, which is quite foolish if you think about it, because do a little bit of research on anyone who has achieved anything that is noteworthy, and you will see that one of the common things there is, first of all, that they set goals, they wrote them down, did all that good stuff, but they also failed countless times before they landed on the idea or the project that really propelled them into the person that they are today. I think what needed to change for me, and what needs to change for anyone who is afraid of failure, is the conversation around failure. Realizing that failure is an opportunity for growth, an opportunity for character development, an opportunity to learn something new about the world, about the business you're in, about yourself. You need to shift from the fixed mindset to the growth mindset and realize that we're all students in the school of life, all our lives. No one's ever going to get to a point where they know absolutely everything there is to know. So we're constantly learning. And because we're constantly learning, there are higher chances of us failing and failing and failing. I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with the children's rhyme that says, try, try, try again. If at first you don't succeed, try, try, try again. And I think that's such a positive way to look at failure, because even the conversation around failure in that rhyme is positive. You're not saying try, try, try again. If you fail, try, try, try again. No, you say if at first you don't succeed. So there's a sense in which you are looking forward to that future success that is probably going to come out of that failure, because now you've learned something that you need to do differently, and you've learned a new approach that you need to have, perhaps a new attitude, a new mindset. So it's quite profound, as simplistic as it is. And I think such things need to be done more of for kids, to have such positive affirmations and rhymes, and having kind of the lies in the common subconscious being changed, and essentially reprogramming our minds to look at life differently. So yeah, overcoming the fear of failure is possible. Many people have done it, otherwise there wouldn't be so many successful businesses in our world today. And like I said, if you look at maybe some of your role models in business, you will see that they took risks, they failed, but they kept on trying, and they kept their head in the game, and they kept putting themselves out there and didn't give up. A second thing I think is quite common when people have a failure of goal setting and dreaming about what they would like to achieve is the fear of rejection. We fear rejection from, the people closest to us, the people in our lives. I remember watching a certain YouTuber that I follow, and she was talking about how when she started her channel, it was actually her brother and a very close friend who were telling her that, look, who's going to listen to your content? This is a dumb idea. What are you doing? You're wasting your time. But about a year and a half later, she's sitting at more than 100,000 subscribers. So, sometimes it's very difficult for people to catch your vision or to see things the way you do. So it's not always in your favor to worry about the rejection of your immediate circle, because that might not be where your target audience is. That might not be where your client base is. Something that I've realized is no matter how ridiculous someone is doing, ridiculous not in the sense of something that will harm other people or whatever, but no matter what niche someone is in, they will always find a crowd and a customer base for it. I was quite surprised by this. I was doing a very random search on YouTube. I've forgotten what I was looking for. And then I stumbled upon a channel where there's this lady who dresses in Victorian style clothing, and she's got hundreds of thousands of followers, which is ridiculous, because if someone was to tell me today they wanted to start a channel about Victorian style clothing, I would tell them they're crazy, because who wears those clothes? But this lady's done that, and she's got thousands of followers, hundreds of thousands. So I mean, I'm obviously now speaking just from giving you examples of YouTube or whatever, but you can apply this to anything. People have outrageous business ideas all the time, and people shoot them down because they think, well, who's going to buy that product? Trust me, there is someone who's going to buy it, I was watching a video earlier today actually about Nike, and how when they started, sneakers were not very popular. Sneakers were for athletes. People didn't wear sneakers just, as part of their wardrobe. But that didn't stop them from trying to find a way to sell sneakers to people and to make people feel like, look, you need this in your closet. They sold the idea of having sneakers. They sold the lifestyle. So this to just point out that no matter how ridiculous your idea sounds, or how people perceive it, or how much rejection you get even at first, you shouldn't let that stop you from wanting to achieve something. So how does this connect to goal setting? Well, because if you're going to be wanting to start a certain business, it obviously has to be part of your goal setting process for you to put it out there and then be intentional about it. But if it's not even making it to goal setting, you're probably not even going to get to the step where you're doing the action steps and executing the plan. So that's why all this counts when thinking about setting goals and making vision boards, because you have to skip all these steps that would otherwise stop you from even dreaming about whatever it is you want to do. Another point that is connected to that is the fear of the market being saturated. And a great example of this is the jeans company called Good American. I was listening to an interview by one of the co-founders, Emma Greed. I think that's how you pronounce it. But she was talking about how when they wanted to make the company, I mean, it's jeans. There are so many companies that make jeans, and so many companies that make high quality jeans. So it's like they were really getting into an industry that is perceived to be extremely saturated. But that did not stop them. They had their own unique selling points, because guess what? Every person has something unique to offer. So never let that stop you from setting a goal or intention about something because you feel, well, there's already so many people doing that. Yeah, but there isn't a person like you doing insert whatever you want to do, So I feel like that's another thing that holds people back, just feeling, well, the market is saturated. There's so many people doing it. I should probably not. And then you end up sitting on your dreams and not doing anything about it. So the market is never saturated because there is only one you. That's the point of that point. Okay. The next point I want to talk about is the fear of not being enough or not being good enough, and feeling like there is someone better who can do the job. And this is tied to the imposter syndrome, where you really feel like you don't belong, you have nothing special to offer, you are just ordinary, no one's going to like you, no one's going to support you, no one's going to buy from you, you are not good enough for the job, whatever, just anything negative kind of just the negative self-talk that stops a person from going forward with a vision that they have. And I think the best way I would say to deal with this is to start to change the internal conversation, the affirmations that you tell yourself, because you can either have the positive affirmations or the negative affirmations. So you want to be changing the conversation that you're having with yourself daily and turn it into something that is going to propel you in the direction you want to go. Okay, so we've dealt with all the reasons why people are afraid. Let's start to talk about some possible solutions to overcoming all this fear. So if you follow me on YouTube, you have probably seen me talking about goal setting and making vision boards extensively. Okay, maybe not extensively, like 3 videos extensively. But this is because I firmly believe in the power of doing these things. So the first thing I would say in overcoming fear of starting something new is to set goals and be intentional about your goals and be very clear about what you want. And then when you have done that, the next thing is to have a vision board. I was talking to someone and I had an epiphany about this, where we were speaking about the power of a vision board and how it's like a magnet, so think about it this way. When you have a magnet, pretend there's like a gigantic magnet and it's traveling along a road. I know this is ridiculous, but just, okay, bear with me for a second. So you have this gigantic magnet, it's traveling along a road, and then in the forest or whatever, there are tons of metal pieces, wood, plastic, all sorts of things. What is the magnet going to attract as it goes along its path? It's going to attract the metal pieces, right? So, and the metal pieces that are available along the path are obviously going to depend on the path that the magnet decides to take. I feel like vision boards work in much the same way, where the vision board and you goal setting serves as the magnet, and you start to attract to yourself things along your path that are in line with achieving whatever goal that you have set. And something else to realize is that you wouldn't have been able to attract the metal pieces without the magnet. Something to realize here is that those metal pieces are representative of the things that are going to be getting you closer to accomplishing your goals. So this goes back to the power of visualization and the power of goal setting. It's not magic. It's really, think about it this way. If you go out today and you think, okay, I'm going to count how many black cars I see today, you are going to notice every single black car that there is, and you're going to be surprised by how many come by or, you come across. But if you just go out on any given day and you're not paying attention to how many black cars there are, and someone comes to you and says, hey, did you notice how many black cars there were today? And you're probably going to think, I don't know, maybe a couple. And that's probably going to be way less than they were. And that's simply because you were not paying attention to how many black cars they were. So it works in much the same way, because there's so much stimuli that's coming to us at any given moment. Our brain has to siphon through that and put a lot of things away in our subconscious mind because it's irrelevant, or it considers it irrelevant. Otherwise, it would literally blow our minds up if our brain was trying to process each and every single thing that came to us. So what a vision board does and what goal setting does is it brings to the forefront of your mind, it kind of sends a signal to your brain to say, hey, listen, we're looking out for this, so bring it to my attention when we come across it. That's why you start to notice things that you didn't notice before, and you start to see opportunities that you were not aware of before, simply because you have put yourself in line with those things, and you have put the signal essentially in your brain to say, hey, please look out for this. because this is the goal or vision or whatever that I have. And this is part of you being able to overcome that fear, because once you start to see the results coming to life of something that you have been desiring, it propels you to do even more and to work even harder and to continue on your path. And I think that's another thing that I want to talk about around overcoming fear, and that's keeping your head in the game and continuing to work hard. Goal setting and having a vision board is not a replacement for work. You don't just set a vision board and then sit and wait for things to happen. No, it requires you to work. It requires you to put yourself out there and to do the things that are required for you to actually accomplish the goals. So think about it as a person who runs a race. They have to focus on the race. They have to keep their mind in the game. They cannot look to the left, to the right, behind them to see, oh, what is everyone else doing? And let me try to figure this out or whatever and see how they're running. Maybe if I make my legs move that way, I'll go faster. They'll probably lose the race if they do that. They have to keep their head in the game. They have to keep running all the way to the finish line. And that's essentially what we have to do as well when we're working towards accomplishing our goals. And that's going to help us to overcome one of the biggest fears around starting something new, because most of these fears are rooted really in being afraid of what the people around us are going to say. We have to realize that everyone is also running their own race. They're probably having the same fears around whatever it is they're doing, you know. And once we realize that really, as humans, we're all kind of going along the same way and trying to figure things out and trying to see if this career is going to work, especially as young people or even as older people, you know. We're all kind of going through very similar experiences. So even the people that you are afraid are going to reject you or laugh at you or laugh off your ideas are probably also just suppressing their own ideas and desires for their goals and whatnot. So stop focusing so much on the noise around you and keep your head in the game and keep working hard. And I think something else that is also important in overcoming fear is, again, to realize that you have a unique selling point as an individual, because you are the only you there is. You're always going to have a fresh perspective. You must never be trying to do something the way someone else has done it. Do it like you, because no one has ever done it like you. So, of course, yes, it's always a difficult thing to start something new. But everything that is had to have a beginning, you know? Think of the things that you really love. Think of the things that really make your life easy. Those things had to start as an idea in someone's mind, and then they had to materialize. Even when you think of something, as I've mentioned earlier, where the industry might have seemed saturated. Let's take cell phones, for example. There's so many new companies of cell phones that have come up and done well, in spite of there being kind of your staples like Samsung, Huawei, and Apple, you know. But that hasn't stopped some other people from thinking, hey, we've got something different to offer. Let's make our own brand. I think one that is doing quite well is Honor. More people are starting to be interested in that brand of cell phones. So, yeah, just to make the point that, in my opinion, there is no such thing as saturation, because we always have different perspectives on things, and you always have something unique to offer. No one else will see things the way you do. So don't try to do like anyone else does. Do it like you. You will find your own group of people that resonate with your brand. I think something that I listened to recently, I've forgotten what it was. I consume so much content, I lose track of who says what, but it was on the fact that for you to have a successful business, really, you need a customer base of 1,000 people that are loyal to your brand. And when you think about it in terms of how many people there are in the world, 1,000 is really not a lot of people. And you will probably be able to have way more than 1,000 loyal customers for whatever it is that you have to offer, no matter how niche it is. So go for your idea, no matter how outrageous it sounds. Don't worry about what people are going to think. Just focus on really pouring your heart into it and putting your own unique twist to it and being authentic, being authentically you. I think we're now in a society where people buy into the idea of the people and not so much the item, in as much as because there is so much choice and we can't overlook that. So people now think, okay, beyond the actual item, who is the person behind the brand? And that is your unique selling point for a lot of things. A lot of things are being sold on the basis of the story behind it and not so much the actual product. People buy into the story of the person behind the brand. And realizing that you do have a unique selling point makes it so much easier to not focus on the fear of just getting started. I'm going to finish off with a quote by one of my favorite authors called John Piper. He's also a pastor. But it says, "We waste our lives when we do not pray and think and dream and plan and work toward magnifying God in all spheres of life." So I think, wow, it really got me just thinking about how not dreaming and not working toward magnifying God in all spheres of our lives is a form of wasting our lives, because essentially we're just sitting on the gifts and talents and contributions that we have to offer, which is dishonoring to God, really. And I mean, even if you are not a spiritual person or whatever, you still have something unique to offer. You still have gifts and talents that you have that you can contribute to society with. And it would be a waste of your life if you kept those things to yourself. So I hope you feel encouraged by this to just take the leap of faith and overcome the fear of starting something new and just do it. I think Nike needs to gift me a pair of sneakers for how much, advertising I've been doing for them today. But anyway, no, like seriously, just do it. Just get on with it. The world is excited to hear what you've got to say and to see what you've got to give. So please stop depriving us of your talents. I will catch you guys in my next episode. Bye.